Hello and welcome to the podcast You're Better Than That, hosted by me, Hannah Miller, and joined by my friend Zoe Ross-Waddell. Hello and welcome back.
Hi Hannah, how are you?
I'm okay. Do you know, I'm all right. There's something that I've been noticing in my behaviour, and because this is an honest podcast where we talk about what's really going on, I've noticed just lately that I have been tipping into, and it kind of fits with the topic, I've been tipping into being a little bit resentful of some of the things that I do. What I mean by that is I have noticed that the asks of life, the responsibilities, the everyday juggle, just the stuff, nothing in particular has been a little bit narking at me, and I've felt a little bit resentful of everything that I have to do. And I am paying attention to that because it's a sign that I'm moving from doing things from a place of purpose to perhaps a little bit burnt out, perhaps needing to make some adjustments. And I'm saying that because it could be easy to give people the impression that because I talk about this stuff for a living, that I've got it all nailed. But, you know, I still have those days regularly when I'll wake up in the morning and feel like, oh, literally all I'm doing is facilitating other people's lives and making things happen, and slightly resentful that nobody's doing any of it for me. Do you ever get resentful, Zoe? I mean, Zoe's like 100 times better person than me,
No.
so she probably doesn't. But, or feel like you're doing something, maybe resentful's the wrong, for me it definitely starts to tip into that, but it's doing things out of obligation.
Sure. I wonder if we're in very different life stages. I don't have kids.
Yeah, she's alluding to my age here again.
No, but as in...
we are.
Like, I'm almost responsible for myself and my husband. And so there's not much out of that I have to do. Do you know what I mean? I definitely do feel that with, like, tasks that need to get done for the house. And, like, I've learned actually that there's always something to get done. There's always more to do on the admin list, and I can definitely relate to that. I just wonder if the thing about facilitating others is a bit different because of different stages. Yeah,
probably. And I think there is sometimes, not going to lie, as a mother, and you know, I really do love being a mother, but you do sometimes look and you think everything I'm doing, not everything, but it can feel like everything I'm doing is allowing you to do things that I don't necessarily get to do, or maybe never had the opportunity to do.
Sure.
And my life is busier to enable yours to be less busy.
Sure.
And when I'm in a good place, it's okay. You know, that's my role. I think the reason I'm being honest about this is that when we're running towards empty, or there's just one too many things, or the life margin has got squeezed, it's easy for us to then start to have a slightly gritted teeth attitude to these things. Just one too many things, and we're a little bit resentful of what's being expected of us. And it's that what about me voice that starts to come out.
Yeah.
And there's nobody but me that can do something about that. I've got to think about that. I've got to take stock. And actually, I have got my holiday coming up, and I really do want to think about the autumn and think, how do I get this right so I'm not looking at other people and being a little bit jealous of their freedom and their time and their ability. I'm definitely not blaming anybody. It's for me to sort. And although that's a slightly separate thought, it's sort of connected to the idea of purpose in the mundane. And we wanted to talk about that a bit today. We talk about purpose a lot. Literally, purpose is what I do. My coaching program is called The Purpose Pursuit. And I love the word purpose. But one of the things I really strongly feel is that purpose is for everybody. It's not for a select few, and it's not for a lucky few who have more opportunity. It's got to be something that's universal. I mean, you've spent time in other countries, and you've spent time with people who haven't got the freedoms that we've got. Do you think purpose is available to everybody, or should be, and can be, regardless of?
Oh, good question. I think it should be, but I don't know if it is, because certain places are capped by restrictions on even platform or the finance to be able to do something. Which then I get challenged to think, well, why do you need all of that to fulfill what you're essentially called to do? But I feel like that's kind of where the world has gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I feel like I've met people who have very different levels of opportunity because of the country and the circumstance that they're in. They also have lots of opportunities that we don't have in a completely different way, to be free of certain things that we are not free of. But they have found meaning and purpose in a life that might not look like it would be something that would give us purpose.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's all relative, isn't it? And we've all got different views of what outworking your purpose looks like.
And I think that what is purpose is a really good point. Like, what actually is it? You know, what is my purpose? Some people will say, what is my calling? Why am I here? And lots of people engage with me because they're wrestling through that question. And actually, more than ever, during the pandemic, people went wild for this question. Like, loads of people, when everything was stripped back, started to think, what's the point? We had like this collective moment of purpose thinking where most people have a moment of purpose reflection when a difficult thing happens in life. So I've met lots of people who have been through a life transition change or the loss of a loved one, and they are wildly different in their outlook. I was talking to a friend the other day who's recently lost a sibling young in age, and he said to me, I really just feel this sharper feeling of what I do's got to count. And what happened in the pandemic was everybody had a moment like that at the same time. It was a fascinating thing to watch. So many people messaged me, DM'd me on Instagram, got in touch on email and said, can I have some one-to-one coaching? I'm just wondering what I'm doing. I've never had so much of a glut at one time. So it shows that it's in us. It's in all of us to want to know what purpose is. But the trouble is we think it's this like elusive thing that I've got to hunt after, and I might not be one of the lucky ones who finds it, where other people have it nailed and they are living purposeful lives. And that binary approach of like purpose or no purpose ends up leaving people a bit trapped and settling for stagnation or settling for same old, same old. I need to cough again. Hold on. If you can hear a frog in the throat, it's really annoying. Levi, my youngest son, has often got a frog in his throat, and we're in the middle of a conversation. I'm always saying to him, cough, cough, Levi, cough. I can't listen to you unless you cough. So for those of you listening, I've cleared the frog. Now, when I was researching for this episode, which didn't take much research because this is what I do, there were a couple of words that I thought were quite helpful. They're not words that we use. They are Greek words that can give us another kind of like bit of scaffolding around this idea of purpose. So what I want people to hold on to as they're listening to me is this fundamental belief I have, which is that purpose is neither binary, you have it or you don't, and neither is it just for the select few. It might look different if you have all the opportunity in the world to somebody whose opportunities are quite limited, but there is a way of finding purpose in what we're doing that has to be available. It's also what makes us different to AI and what makes us different to robots. This deeper desire around meaning is part of humanity. Some people have learnt to squish it, but it's definitely not about some people are purposeful and others are not. So these two words, the first one is, I might be saying it wrong, is euthymia. 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 And I heard someone talk about this word recently, euthymia, and why it can be used to help us understand what purpose is. So euthymia is being in a normal, tranquil mental state. But the reason you're in that tranquil state is because you know what path you're on and you're not distracted from it. Believing in yourself and trusting you are on the right path and not being in doubt by following the myriad footpaths of those wandering in every direction. So one aspect of purpose is this idea of euthymia, which is I have an idea that the path I'm walking on is the right one. So that is a fundamental thing, because lots of people aren't sure whether they're on the right path. And they think there is a path, which then is a bit crippling, because if it's not the right path and I'm not on the perfect golden path, then everything I'm doing is a bit futile.
Exactly.
I'm not sure it's as binary as the right path or the wrong path, but the right path for now, and this is where I'm heading. Do you feel like you're on the right path?
It's a really good question.
It's a big, deep question to make you tell the whole world. I mean, not that the whole world is listening to the podcast. They should be, but they're not.
You don't know. They might.
They might. All right, listen to this one.
I think what you said before about it's not just one path then makes me feel like, well, I don't know if it's a case of me feeling like I'm on the right path, but I do feel like I'm flowing in what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's like a grace to it and like an ease to it that feels like, oh yeah, I'm flowing in what I enjoy and what I'm good at.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that language around right, wrong path is a tricky one. And although I love this idea of I'm in the right direction, I would more want to say that you're moving in the right direction. It's a bit like you could have 3 or 4 ways to get to the same place. You know, you can come to my house and you can take different routes, but they will all get you here. And some are a bit more scenic, some are more direct, some are more interesting, some have more obstacles to them. Oh, I'm liking this metaphor as it's coming. But they can get you to the right path. And so I think there's a confidence that can come that I am moving in the right direction. And that's one of the aspects of purpose. Somebody said to me the other day in a podcast that I recorded, you know, oh, you've done a few different jobs, you've done a few different careers, you've done different things. How have you switched purpose like that? And I said, I don't think I have switched purpose. I have actually had the same purpose, and I've used it, manifested it in different environments. So when I work with people on this, I want to release them a bit from the perfect magical path, you know, the yellow brick road of purpose, and more say, do you feel like you're getting closer? Are you getting closer to the right direction, or are you moving further away?
Do you think there's a destination?
Well, the destination will keep moving, perhaps. There'll be waypoints rather than an actual destination, because I'm not sure I'll ever feel I've arrived, but I do think I get to do more and more of the right kind of things as the years are going by. So younger listeners, I would say, you're not going to feel everything is in your purpose. Well, you might, but you're lucky if you do. You know, you get closer as things become clearer. I've got this thing on my phone that when I lose my AirPods, which is every day, it helps me find them. It's, you know, and it's like, have you ever used that feature?
Yeah, Find Mine.
And it'll say Find Mine, but with the AirPods, it'll say move closer. So if it can't spot it at all when you start doing it, you have to move around the house, and then it will say far, then it will say far, and then it will say getting closer, moving further away. You're 5 feet away, 6 feet away. And I think there's something about that with purpose, that you might come and do my course with me and feel like I'm not even connected to my AirPods, I'm not even connected to my purpose. And as you make steps, you can feel, oh, that's getting closer. You know, we're getting warmer, hotter, hotter. Remember that game when people say warmer, warmer, colder, colder? That is more of the idea of what I think happens. And I don't think we should despise cul-de-sacs or despise things that take us down a bit of a wrong end, because, gosh, you can learn more from that than anything else. My first job, which I've spoken about before, I didn't stay in it very long, my first adult job, graduate job. And that wasn't a waste. Yeah. I made a quick decision that this wasn't the right thing to do, much to some people's disappointment close to my life. I can remember my brother saying to me, and I know he's listening because he listens to all of the podcasts, saying, what are you doing? You know, what are you actually doing walking away? But that wasn't a wasted experience. It was data that was like, oh, that's colder, this is warmer. So be a little bit free of this. If you're listening and you're on this path, which I'm sure lots of people who are listening are, be free of the binary nature of it, and more think, am I getting warmer? Am I getting colder? A bit like what you were saying, you're in a flow, and it's all contributing to the Zoe of 10 years from now, to the Zoe of 20 years from now. And all of it contributed to my early mom years. It's contributing to my later mom years. It's going to contribute to the person I am when I'm a grandparent. It's all contributing to what I'm learning.
Would you say, so at the beginning of this episode, you said you're processing, feeling as though you're living in quite a mundane space, doing things for others. Would you say, sorry, not the fact that doing things for others is mundane, but that's where you're at. Would you say that you're moving in the right direction?
It's a really, really good, effective coaching question back to me. I think what I am recognising is happening here is probably less about whether I'm doing things that feel purposeful or not, but more around feeling like there's too much of it. Sure. Which is a slightly different problem. I don't usually despise the stuff of normal life because it's normal life, right? Somebody has to put the dishes away and somebody has to make the dinner and, do the ironing or whatever it might be. But when I'm starting to get a bit resentful, it could be a couple of things. It could be I'm not doing enough of the good stuff, so that can make you feel resentful of the other stuff. Or it could be that it's too full. And that's an important question to ask people. Are you feeling frustrated because you are not doing enough of the good stuff? So the data around purposeful work is really positive because actually we don't have to do it all week. As long as there is a good chunk of the pie, which is the really good stuff, we actually have a lot of bandwidth for the okay and even the boring. But if the boring is like the massive chunk, it has this ability to then sort of neutralise the effect of the positive stuff that we're doing. So could it be that the balance has got swayed to doing too much of that? Then the other thing is, are you just like stretched? I said to my husband the other day, I'm not an elastic band that can just keep pulling without snapping. And sometimes life feels like, for whatever reason, you're in a season because of the nature of the speed bumps of life where that elastic band is being pulled a little bit more than it really can handle. And you've got to think about that. So I think probably if I reflect on myself, it's more about the elastic band thing than me not loving what I do. Yeah. I'm just a bit tired, I think.
Sure.
But tiredness, just to say quickly, tiredness can also come about because we aren't doing enough of the right thing. And I talk to people who are exhausted, but they're not exhausted because work is full, but they're exhausted because it's the wrong kind of work. There is work I get to do that, although I might be tired at bedtime, I've been so energized by it. Like today, I really love our podcast recording day. It's me in my element, but it's tiring. It's not like it's easy. Yeah. You make me work very hard.
Sometimes I think people, and this is because I've seen things online, people think that purpose is like you're on a constant high, constantly getting this dopamine hit of like, this is everything I'm supposed to do. What advice would you give to people who feel like they're maybe flowing towards the right direction, but it's like the chunt and it's not necessarily shiny and exciting, and you have to keep ploughing? Like, what would you say to that person?
I would say that the problem there is that so much of what we see online is highlights and not true. And for most people, even when they're doing things they really love, it's not easy because life for most people is full, it's wonderful, but it's not easy. And even if even people who are living in a very small sector of society, like, famous celebrities, you don't have to scratch far under the surface to recognise that they are dealing with much the same questions of life as the you and I of this world. And I think it goes back to what I've said before about reality, that we can really love the moments of life that are great. And actually we can have those everyday highlights every single day, but it can still be pretty tough and full on. And I would probably say there's something around managing expectation there, especially for younger people who think that they're moving towards this, everyone jumps out of bed every day. Now, I feel really fortunate that I love my job. It doesn't mean every day, and I love being a parent, and I love the things I get to do. It doesn't mean every day I bounce out of bed with the joy of everything I've got to do. I'm not sure that's a realistic expectation, because there is always something that's difficult. I just need to mention the other word that I haven't mentioned, because I've only mentioned euthymia. Eudaimonia is the other word. And eudaimonia, some people may have heard of I think I've said it the right way, eudaimonia. It comes from a Greek word daimon, and this is about living in a way that is deeply satisfying and meaningful. It's about having personal growth, challenging ourselves, and it's about contributing to something bigger than ourselves. And people who are in eudaimonia are growing. There is a non-static nature about it. I think it's a forward momentum, but it is about something meaningful, bigger than yourself. And that word is a very old word that has been used by, Greek philosophers and early philosophical minds. But it's just as true today that the data from organisations like Gallup and the Office of National Statistics and the global wellbeing surveys and happiness surveys that are done, that the people with the highest sense of well-being in the world have the dimension in them of eudaimonia, which is there's something about my life that I'm involved in that's bigger than me. Those people, so therefore that's why I think it's universal. So you could be someone living in a remote village in northern India, and you could feel a sense of connection to something bigger than self. And that's part of how people find purpose, even when on a natural level you might think you don't have half the trappings or opportunities that I do. Now, that lends itself to community, it lends itself to generosity, it lends itself to connection, global connection, or faith, or spirituality. But it's this idea of I am involved in something beyond just my direct benefit.
Yeah.
Now, parenthood is an immediate thing, but not totally, because you do get direct benefit from children, because they are literally going to return back to you, So there's something that goes beyond our immediacy, that people with eudaimonia and people with those highest levels of satisfaction, there is part of what they do, there's so many ways this can be done, that is meaningful beyond their own sense of what they get. And when we do the Purpose Pursuit course, part of what we look at really briefly, we look at passions, we look at strengths, we look at talents, we look at what other people think of us, we look at imposter syndrome, we look at all sorts of things, but we do also look at what's my bigger gift back to the wider society. So to kind of round up on purpose in the mundane, I need you to hear that there is purpose in everyday stuff. There is purpose in being who we are in an environment, whatever life stage that is, bringing our full self, bringing our strengths and talents. And our life is really about how do I get closer to that destination or that waypoint that enables me to bring more and more of who I am. It's not something that's a tick box, but we can get ourselves back on track with the help of others. And if you're listening to this and you would like a bit more help, I'm probably going to harp on about this over the next few weeks. If you listen to this live in September 2024, we go again with the course, and really simply people can sign up to the wait list, can't they? How do they do that?
There'll be a link in the show notes.
There'll be a link in the show notes. And the wait list will mean you'll get to hear about it first. We're refilming it, repackaging it, making it more and more accessible to busy people, busy women, and we've listened to all our feedback to make it as accessible as we can. Get on the wait list and you'll be the first to hear about it and get a special treat too.